So thank you for that opportunity. And this afternoon, I've got some staff members from Palm Beach County. Let me just let you know who's here. We're going to hear from Dr. James Green, Virginia Baker, who is our county administrator, is with us today, and then assistant county administrator and head of a lot of important departments, including our facilities, is Isami Colaza Ayala, and she's with us this afternoon as well. They're going to be giving a presentation, or Dr. Green is going to give a presentation this afternoon regarding the proposal of the purchase and conversion of the La Quinta motel nearby here. There's going to be plenty of time for questions. So, I know staff is going to want to answer all of your questions this afternoon. I'm here. Niels Heimrichs is here. Jana Panaritas from my office is also here. We're here to observe and hear what you all have to say and about this. So, looking forward to getting your feedback, and we'll see what they have to say. So with that, I would like to introduce Dr. James Green, Head of Community Services for Palm Beach County.
Thank you, Commissioner Weiss. I'm James Green. I'm the Director of the Community Services Department. And for those of you who are not aware, Community Services oversees a number of different programs and services, including senior centers. We have a senior center in Mid-County in the Lake Worth area, one out in the Glades. We have a senior center in the northern part of the county, and we operate about 14 to 15 different meal sites where seniors are able to come in and they can have nutritious meals, and they're able to socialize and do a lot of different things. We take them on field trips, many of the same things that you do here perhaps. And so it is one of the most valued programs under the department. There are quite a few others, but I just wanted to highlight that one. So today what I'm going to do is to take some time to talk about a concept of converting the La Quinta Inn into a senior and veteran permanent supportive housing program. Part of my role as Director of Community Services is to do whatever I can to protect our seniors and our veterans. And many of you know how difficult it is for many seniors who are on fixed incomes right now. I get calls just about every single day with seniors who can't pay their condo fees, or they can't pay their rent, and they're looking for help and some type of subsidies, and it's heartbreaking. And so it is in my best interest and in our best interest as a county to make sure that we're prepared, because almost a third of the county's population is made of seniors. And so we want to do everything we can to protect them and to make sure that they are safe. To start off, the Board of County Commissioners has 7 strategic priorities. And one of the priorities that they have is around housing and homelessness since 2008. That's a way to prevent it from happening. And we also believe that the conversion of this hotel to help address the need for affordable housing is going to be critical. Affordable housing can help improve outcomes in a lot of different areas, whether you're talking about people's health, people's ability to maintain employment, their ability to pay for food, to do a whole lot of other things. Having affordable housing will help that. And this is what we're proposing. It's so very important to the residents of Palm Beach County. Here's what is happening right now. We have rent that has increased pretty dramatically even since the COVID-19 pandemic. We've seen upwards of a 30% increase here in this county. And for seniors in particular who are on fixed incomes, that is unbearable. And so what do? What do you do when you see that rent has gone up? We also see the cost of insurance, home insurance going up. We see condo fees being implemented going up, special assessments being made, and people having nowhere to turn. This is a consistent thing that we're hearing from our residents in the Community Services Department. We're constantly getting these calls. There was an article that was published talking about homeowners insurance for seniors going up 20% just between 2021 and 2023. And we're seeing it much more dramatically than that here in this county. The overall cost of living continues to go up and continues to be unbearable. And there's just a need for help, for a need for people to have someone or some entity to reach out to for help. Here's another thing that is interesting. Many of you may be familiar with senior housing being at an affordable rate, whereas the market may be producing $3,000 per unit. There are certain senior housing facilities that may have those units more affordable, maybe at $1,000 or $800. That's because those units have worked with the state and with some local governments, and they've received subsidies in order to build them. And as a result of those subsidies that they have received, the developers and the owners are responsible for keeping those rents at an affordable rate. So they may be able to get, and when I say they, I mean the developers, they could potentially get, $2,500, $3,000 for those units, but they're keeping them at an affordable rate because they're required to, because there are restrictions, deed restrictions, as a result of them receiving those subsidies. Well, what we have done is looked at an analysis, and some of those facilities that have those restrictions, they've had them for 30 years. And now those restrictions are no longer required. And as a result, what we're seeing is developers who are now able to charge more. You think that they're going to choose not to, just from the kindness of their heart? That's usually not what happens. And so we're seeing over 1,000 units that have restrictions. We're seeing that those restrictions are going to be removed. And what are our seniors supposed to do about that? How are they going to be able to afford living in this place when now the rent goes up dramatically? Where do they turn? And so as a department, we're looking at this, we're trying to come up with some innovative solutions in order to deal with that. So the concept of this conversion is permanent housing. It's not housing that people are just moving in and out of. It's not a shelter. I know you may have heard differently, but that is not what we're proposing. We don't need people moving from place to place. We need them in a permanent place to live. And what we're looking to do is to turn them into SROs, or like little efficiencies, and have kitchenettes and things of that nature in the units. We would also look to provide support for them. And so, they would have food, they would have a person that can fix the air conditioner, or there's something wrong, they would have someone accessible to address that. They would have a person who is there to help them to apply for food benefits or any other type of benefits that are needed. Any type of, if they have issues with mental health, because we see a lot of our seniors have mental health issues and other health problems, they would have people there to support them along the way. They would have 24-hour security, 7 days a week. The property management would be on site in case there are any issues. And we're looking to convert this and keep it some of the renovations at a minimum. There will be small things that would need to happen, but we want to keep the cost and the conversion to a minimum. In order for seniors to be eligible to move in, or veterans, they would need to meet some of the criteria that we're hoping to establish. And again, this is just a concept. It's a draft concept that we would like to present to the Board of County Commissioners. The first is they would need to be at least age 55 or older. And they have to be able to manage their own lifestyles. We're not going to have seniors there who need to be in a assisted living facility, or they can't take care of their own health. They have to have some level of independence. They have to be at risk of being homeless. Not homeless, but at risk, meaning if their rent goes up and they have nowhere to go, or if they're calling because they can't afford their insurance payments, or whatever the case may be, and they're at risk, then we would look to try to work with them. And they have to be willing to pay a portion of their income. This is not just housing that we're providing for free. We're hoping that we can get at least 30% of their income that will go towards the rent so that it can help with the operations of the facility, and perhaps an additional 20% for the case management, for transportation, for other services and activities and programs that we would have there on site. And perhaps one of the most important aspects of this concept is that they would have some standards of agreement in terms of their behavior and what is expected of them. And so these would be some of the eligibility criteria that we would have for people coming into the facility. So they wouldn't be required to stay there. Although they could, they wouldn't be required to stay there. It may be that a senior that comes there just needs some temporary support, and then they would move into a larger place because they have the income, they have everything that they need. And so that may be a way that it would free up a unit for someone else to come. But what we want to make sure that we're doing is assessing their inability to continue residing in the place. And so if they get too old, or if they get of age and they're unable to take care of themselves, I think that's a better way of putting it, then we want to be able to work with assisted living facilities and other placements to move them into those units where they can be cared for. If they lose the capacity, if they have some type of, if they're not able to maintain themselves, if there's an emergency situation and they can't assess that emergency and they need some additional support, caregiving support, whatever the case may be, then those case managers would be working with our community partners, assisted living facilities and others, our nursing facilities to make sure that they can successfully transition there, and they wouldn't be unsafe living by themselves. And so there would be potential exits from the program, but these are typically some of the things that we expect to see. So our overall goals would be to make sure that they have the opportunity to live independent longer, and we want to make sure that we can address any housing insecurity that they would have. We wanted to advance the goals of our housing plan. Many of you may have heard of the Housing Plan for All, and what that plan does is it lays out some strategies for the county to address the affordable housing issue and the workforce housing issue. And so this particular acquisition and conversion would actually help to achieve the goals outlined in the Housing Plan for All. Also, make available any transitional housing. We do have seniors that are living in transitional housing units now, and they've been there for a while. And so the time is limited, and so we would be able to move them into a permanent setting. And we also want to decrease the overall number of seniors. who are going into homelessness because they have no place to go. And so that is really important, that we can stop the bleeding, if you will, and make sure that they're not entering into homelessness. And some of the ways that we are proposing to address the property management and the case management would be to work with the housing authority. And we thought that working with the housing authority would be good because there may be housing vouchers for veterans and for seniors that could cover some of the cost of their rent. And so that would actually help if we had a housing authority that has experience with property management. There is a facility just across the street from the La Quinta called Drexel that is operated by a housing authority. And it's a senior living facility that they have been operating. They have support services there. And so they have experience with property management and maintenance and repair and some of the other things that are needed in order to operate a facility. In addition to that, we would potentially work with a nonprofit service provider. We've talked to a few, including Jewish Family Services, and we would work with them to help provide on-site case management, mental health and SUD supports, employment supports, document-ready supports. What that simply means is some seniors don't have the documents that they need in order to apply for Medicaid or Medicare or some other services that they need, and we would want to have those supports readily available for them. Or they may need food subsidies, and so we would have those supports on site readily available for them. Laundry, housekeeping, those may be some optional supports available. Transportation is a big thing, and so we would want to make sure that there's a way for them they could potentially go to some of our senior centers during the day, or any other medical appointments, shopping for groceries, whatever the case may be. They would have transportation supports for that, along with social and recreational activities. And so what are some of those activities? These are just some of the things that we're currently doing with our seniors and that we could possibly integrate into this facility. And so I won't go over all of it in detail, but it's quite extensive. And at our senior centers in particular, the way that we facilitate that is we have seniors who are retired, whether they're doing quilting or some do Zumba, they do all types of activity. We just invite them to come in and to teach and to be facilitators for that. And so we can integrate something like that. We also have a number of agencies coming in and speaking with them about how to maintain their safety if they're walking to a car, or we have a number of sessions to teach them about people texting them and fraud and how to prevent fraud and all of those things that seniors are sometimes more vulnerable to. And of course, health education is a big one. We want to make sure that we can maximize the educational opportunities that could potentially come as a result of us working with them. And you can see, we have programs that can assist with taxes. We have programs that allow them to go to special events on field trips to celebrate birthdays and holidays and sing-alongs, all types of things that we're currently doing that we could possibly integrate with this particular project. And so I want to reiterate that this will not be a homeless shelter, and it certainly will not be a homeless encampment. Our plan is to have security there 24 hours a day, to be able to monitor the program. They don't currently have that there now. And we're not going to allow for subsidies and illegal substances or any criminal activity to take place on site. That is something that we will make sure that the residents know as they move in, and something that we'll look to maintain with our security firm to ensure that everyone is safe. And in terms of people walking up and walking in, that is not something that we're looking to allow as well. And so we'll make sure that security is properly trained and that staff who are on site, that they're trained to deal with people who are just walking up to the facility. And here are some of the funding considerations. And so how would we pay for it? Again, I mentioned up to 30% of the income will come from the seniors, another 20% from support services. We have also applied for grants through the federal government, the Housing and Urban Development in particular. And so we've received some awards from HUD. We've applied for another grant that would allow us to do renovation. It's called the Build Grant. We don't know whether or not we'll receive that. We have also received some dollars from the state, probably about $700,000 or so that we could use to help with the operations. And as I mentioned before, housing vouchers or VASH vouchers for veterans could potentially be a source of revenue to help operate this facility. And so right now, when we looked at all of the numbers for operating the facility, it would cost about $20,000 per door annually in order to operate it with the things that were listed there. And we have a shortfall of about $3,500 per door, which is about less than $10 a day, that would prevent seniors from entering into homelessness. And so those are some of the projections and some of the things that we're doing to address this shortfall. As I mentioned, we want to make sure that if there are project-based vouchers or VASH vouchers available, that we can maximize those opportunities. There may be some options for us to increase the rent a little bit for those who can afford it, to offset the cost of those who can't. And there may be some additional federal funding, including, as I mentioned, the Build Grant that we've applied for that we'll be notified of as time goes on, that could help address the shortfalls that we have here with this particular budget. And so with that, I want to pause for any questions that you may have. We want to try to provide as much clarity about what it is that we're hoping to do. And so I don't know how we want to facilitate this, Niels, whether or not you want to take a microphone or just have people stand. Oh, I see a microphone there.
Over here.
Okay, and then a microphone here. So
Over here.
I'm going to invite Isami
You want me to use this?
up to answer any questions, because if they're facility related, then more than likely they will go to Dr. Isami. If they are related to the services and the supports, then I will do my best to answer those questions.
I'm
for
here.
you. Okay, so Niels, I'll let you point out who you want to speak.
May I go first?
Can I have it?
Okay, thank
Hey,
you.
Niels?
Can I have the first question, please?
Hey, Niels? Would you just hold 1 second, sir? Just to let everybody know, we have microphones, 2 at the front and 2 at the back. And we could also bring a microphone to you if you need it. Okay, so we want everybody to be able to hear you.
First Patricia, then the gentleman in the back.
Okay, if I may, it has twofold, this question. Number one, you said seniors. 55 is not really seniors. They don't get Social Security. So, and I heard every word you said. I would like to know where the rest of the money is going to come from. We struggle here, and I believe that we will have to be paying taxpayers. You'll be taking money from us as well. I did hear that there were some homeless people in their veterans already, and I don't know if everyone's aware, but we had several situations here. One of them came over, was told, he said he was from the hotel, was told to leave, and he pulled out a machete. Another one came on the property and thought it was appropriate, excuse me for saying this, to urinate on our property. I speak for a lot of people here. We're not happy about it, and I'm wondering why they picked Century Village. And I'd like to know why we become the dumping grounds. I know this is not appropriate, but I'm going to say this. They're also going to put a rehab at the end of the property, too. I think this is wrong. We're getting hit with a hotel that we don't know who's really going into it, and renovations are not just $20,000. They're small rooms from what I heard, and I'm sure the prostitutes are going to be very unhappy they have to move. But, you know, I'm all for the veterans, and I have a big heart, believe me. I feel for the homeless. I myself struggled all my life raising my child alone. So it's not that I'm not compassionate. I'm worried about us, the people here. There are people who come onto our property that don't belong. That means it's a bigger cost for us. For safety, we have to get more coverage and guards and everything, and that's not right. I heard you said you have some for mental health. There's also people, veterans, who are alcoholics and on drugs, and while I'm compassionate to it, I really don't want it in my neighborhood. Thank you for listening.
And thank you for your comments. I will say that, you know, one of the things that we are proposing, which is not in existence now, is having security there 24 hours a day, and so perhaps that would help. But the other thing in terms of what we are looking to do in terms of the age criteria, many of our senior programs and some housing facilities do allow 55 and older, and so that might be something that we can go back and take a look at, but that is currently what we would be proposing. I'm going to let Neil.
I was here. I was second. I'm second.
Okay.
Okay. Dr. Green, the first thing I want to tell you, you have a challenge here. I do appreciate your service or the service of the county and the commissioner to resolve this situation. My name is Fernando Pieras. I have a doctorate degree, and what I'm going to ask you is about special populations that you're dealing with. Your content seems to be very, very good, but the first question is, I got two of them. Where is your model that you said at the beginning you were doing situations like this, that you buy hotels and you do the same thing you're presenting here? Where are they? You are not showing me any research that what you're going to do there is working with all your criteria of tenants. We should know that. Secondly, that came and the support you're giving. I mean, the content is very good. I don't have anything about it. But we need to know how is your experience with other projects either around the nation or in Florida. How do you solve the situation of this getting a hotel like this? For example, I want you to answer me, what is the square feet of each room that is considered for a person? Because those rooms are for 4 days, 5 days, 6 days, one bathroom. Are you going to accept couples, more than one person? Okay, so is that sufficient for permanent living? So even so you have these services,
I'll get back to that.
please answer me those two questions. Where is a model that is working with this content, with this criteria of the criteria of tenants are very good, and your services? So what are you doing here? Where is it working? Where? And can you give a model of the name or the community is working like that? The other issue is that the government also always look for places to incorporate or integrate elderly people with more elderly people. You know what we need? We need to get this in rich neighborhood who they also and different peoples around them. You know, like in Wellington, you always put it on the side, and that's called segregation. Okay? So that's what I'm asking you. Please answer me those two questions, the square feet and the model. So anyway, as
All right.
I said,
I think that's clear.
I like your presentation.
Thank you. James?
Yes, so in terms of the square footage, I don't have the exact square footage, but I'll let Isimi answer that question.
Good morning. I'm going to ask that you give me a few minutes to get that answer. My computer is being used for the presentation. That's where I have the information. Before we end the questions and answer process, I will get you the answer. Okay?
Thank you. In terms of the model and where it's working across the country, there are, any of you can Google senior housing, hotel conversion, and you'll see that there are models across the country. I won't point out one place, but we're not the only place that we're looking at this type of conversion. It is something that has happened. This would be the first time that we've done it here in the county, but it is not the first time that it's been done in communities across the rest of the country. Yes, and so we can learn from those individuals. In terms of how the operations would go, as I mentioned before, what we would look to do is work with perhaps a housing authority that has a lot of experience operating senior living facilities throughout this county, and they have the experience to do the property management. They can also do the support services as well. And so that is why it's critical to bring in partners with the type of experience that's needed in order to work with this type of project.
Doctor?
Yes, I don't know.
Over
Who
here?
we're-
Can we take one over here?
So
we
we're going to
here?
go to Fausto first, and then I got a question asker here, and then
Okay.
we'll go to you, sir.
We got to get some questions over here, too.
Okay.
Okay.
Fausto.
Okay, Doctor, I see the foresight of what you're trying to do to help people, but I think your project is dead from the start, because you're talking about an expanding ongoing services. So number one, you're limiting yourself to the space of the hotel. You're talking about having rooms where people can do knitting, crocheting, playing pool. Are you going to put the pool table in the parking lot? And honestly, I think the project is wonderful. I think people need it. But I think you should be looking someplace else. Beeline Highway, buy 50 acres of property that you can expand your program instead of limiting it to La Quinta or saying something across the street where you have a center. If you buy 50, 60, 100 acres, and every year you could add a building and add services to what you're doing. I think that would serve the county, the seniors, the veterans, and it would make our community a lot safer. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments.
Doctor?
I see you.
Doctor?
We'll get to you.
So if you want to get her,
Okay.
who am I looking at now? Okay, go.
I'm Judy Blow. I have seen this presentation no less than 3 times. The only thing I hear is the language is different. But basically, you're saying the same thing. You're trying to convince us to change our minds. We have said we don't want it. You're trying extremely hard to force it down our throats. You're adding on. Now, when you first started this, VA was not part of the project. Now VA is. Now you're speaking of Drexel. Are all these people on board for this? And when is this going to be voted on? We need to say no and move on, because this is not something that the community wants. We don't want transitional housing. As much as you keep saying it's not going to be that, that's exactly what it's sounding like.
Doctor?
My name
Doctor?
is Karen Davis. I have several questions about the vetting procedure for these potential tenants. 1, can you ensure that they are drug-free and have been drug-free for 5 years? 2, can you ensure that they do not have criminal records? Can you ensure that they do not have mental health issues? 4, can you ensure that the community will be ethnically diverse? And 5, you talk about getting 50% of their income. If they're 55, as someone pointed out, they don't have Social Security. If they're working at all, they probably have minimum income. How are you going to get 50% of an income when these people are working at poverty levels?
Thank you for your question, ma'am.
Thank you.
So, to answer your question, we would work with an organization that would vet according to, of course, the laws. There are fair housing laws that we would have to adhere to, but we would do everything that we could to make sure that individuals are appropriate for this facility, and based on the eligibility guidelines that were provided. There are certain things that, in terms of age, in terms of the use on the facility, certain things that we can put in place to mitigate that. I don't want to give you the impression, and I don't think that that is really feasible and possible anywhere you go, that you can foolproof document and all of the other things that you asked your question about. I don't know if there are provisions that would allow that, but we will have an entity in place to vet and to mitigate any challenges based on the eligibility criteria that I described to you before.
I have a question here, Doctor.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Right there.
No, the gentleman on my right needs.
Doctor,
Hello.
doctor.
The gentleman on,
Hello?
on my right needs to be talked.
I see
I
you.
have a question. You mentioned before that there will be security there.
Yes.
Now, I envision this as a revolving door with people coming in and going. Is there restrictions on teenagers? We moved here for peace and tranquility. And I envision boom boxes at night. I envision kids, especially teenagers, climbing fences, looking for bikes. The swimming pools, they're beautiful. 2 o'clock in the morning, they go for a dive. You know that's going to happen. So what are the regards for teenagers? And I know a lot of grandparents have custody of teenagers. So is there an amount or a restriction on teenagers?
Yeah, so in terms of living there, these units would be for single individuals, not families. And they would be for people ages 55 and older. I'm not sure if you have teenagers or younger people living in the facility now, because there are hotels and anyone could come in, anyone with the type of issues that were described earlier, people with who were young and perhaps don't have rules that they have to adhere to. But what we're proposing is bringing in the appropriate individuals based on the guidelines that we described, and so we can ensure that living there, that they would be 55 and older. And so that is essentially what we are describing and what we're proposing to share with the board.
Doctor,
Dr.
Yes.
Green, I have,
doctor,
guys, one at a time.
I was supposed to speak.
doctor.
Dr. Green, I have Mr. Butler here. He's been waiting for some time and needs to
Okay.
sit down, okay?
All right, sounds
Go ahead,
good.
Mr. Butler.
Doctor, you were referring to the seniors that you are going to assist. I don't know if you are aware of it, but this is nearly 8,000 residents of seniors. We are concerned, and you refer to these people as seniors. That's what we are. And you have yet to sit down and recognize that we are, and we are rejecting outright this situation that you are sitting down discussing. We are not to be ignored. You seem to believe that we can be. We will not be ignored. We are here of the people. 8,000 residences of the people, and you're talking about maybe 1,000. No, that is not acceptable. And we have said so, and you continue to discuss it as though it is probable. This is something that we have risen up and will continue to rise up to whatever extent is necessary to reject this. Sir?
May I speak?
Thank you for your
Dr.
comments.
Green? Yeah.
I think she was
Okay, go ahead.
I have been living here with my husband since 2003, and for 5 years before that as snowflakes, then snowbirds. I think what you have been trying to sell us, and I give you all, I am judging you, you have the best motives. I give you the best of motivations to do this. And my husband will attest that every time we pass someone who's looking as a veteran or whatever, we give, and we give to charity and we give to other places. However, to try to sell us a mountain of beans or a fairy tale is not going to work. We have in our family personal experience running an SRO. And we see and we hear the problems that arise. And all I hear up here is probably, hopefully, we hope to be able to get some of the more income from them. And this is like fairy tale. You know, I hope to win the lottery so that I can buy everything I want. But it doesn't happen. Now we have here, I would venture to say that 95% of the people in this village worked very hard in their lives, worked 2 and 3 jobs in order to gain money so that when they can retire in peace and security. And instead, we now have, and excuse me if you're here and you are partly responsible for this, we have a Palm Beach County of commissioners, whatever they're called, who, excuse me, have sold us down the river. We have a 700 townhouse or apartment buildings being built right into our village. They are right outside some of our apartments. We have, God knows what's going to be with the teenagers there as they hop over. We have the La Quinta next door that is supposed to be changed into whatever it is. I've heard from $150,000 a unit, which is a hell of a lot of money. I could use that to do mine. All of this, and $10 a day per door. You know, this is like, you know, all you have to do is spend 19 cents a day and you can help save the dogs and the cats and the kids. It's not real. If I had $10 a day, I'd be in a hell of a lot better place. But I don't, you don't, and neither do the people in there, and neither do the people in here, who we are told that we're supposed to try to make friends with them and set up activities with them. Excuse me, I have enough on my plate without trying to take care of other people. I did that. I did that all my life. I did that with my job. But now, I want to rest. I want to paint. I want to go to my zillion doctors. And I don't want to have to worry that when I come back, someone is going to be in my house or someone is crawling around the catwalk. Or even now, I have to say, did you lock the car? Did you lock the car? Did you lock the door? You know, I lived in New York all my life. I really don't want to have a replication. And then you want to do the La Quinta, and we now 100-bed drug rehab. I'd like to know who sponsor it, because if it's like the drug rehabs we have in Florida, it is not exactly that. And then finally, actually not finally, 2 other things. Finally, what are we going to have, what is the county going to do now? There's that piece of property between the library and the bank. Maybe we should have a halfway, you know, home for people being released from prison. It would complete the game. Seriously. This is not for this village. It looks like, again, that the county, the commissioners have sold us a bill of goods, have decided that there is a piece of property here and a bunch of people who really don't matter. So let's just pile it all on, trash it up. Never mind, we'll be able to get hit so freely in trying to cross Haverhill. Whatever. It's just a hill of beans. You don't have your secure funding. You don't have anything in place. Maybe come back 10 years from now when you have something in place. But now, this is not the time or the place.
Thank you. Thank you for your comment.
All right, I have Miss Flores here.
Can I speak?
No, Miss Flores is gonna, she's been waiting for some time.
Okay.
Yeah, hi. My name is Belinda Flores, and I'm going to piggyback after Patricia Caputo and Mr. Butler on what they've been saying and the others. Yes, we feel like you guys are painting a beautiful picture of what everything is going to look like, and we have to swallow it. No, everybody here wants to be safe and secure. Are we going to have promises made? Are we? No, it doesn't happen that way, because they say a lot of things and don't do it, just like everything else. I know what this kind of facility is. I've worked through these facilities, and I've seen that when it starts up, then down the road, everything gets cut back because of, oh, we got to cut our budget. We got to cut our budget. And then what? What happens? The taxpayers has to pick up the tab. Nothing gets done, and it ends up being another tragic in the sense it starts going down. And then our village starts going down because of people start coming in and out. And then we don't feel safe. And then the drug rehab, it's like in our backyard. Oh, welcome in, come in. Senior Citizens has all the drugs that they need. No, we are not here to be guinea pigs. We're not here. We're here to live our life out. 55 is not a good number. And if you don't have the Social Security, well, guess what? You have some security in the sense you can live a little longer without Social Security, and then you don't have a job. How are these people going to pay for this? If they're homeless, how are they going to go and get a job? I mean, they're going to get the minimum. And I know they need help. Have mercy on them, yes. But why are you all putting it around Century Village, where people want and came to live their life out and be in peace and quiet and have serenity and not deal with this? And then what happens? And we have to pay for our security more because we have to help keep these people out. It's not that we don't want them here. It's just that the circumstances, what happens. We need our lives to be better, Dr. Green.
All right, let's bring it down front.
Can I speak?
Yeah, go.
Okay, my name is Solomon Beck. I've been living here I've had property here for 22 years. And there's somebody had said one time, a long time ago, President Franklin Roosevelt, what we have to fear is fear itself. We are fearful for the wrong reasons. Dr. Green has given us a beautiful picture of what we can do for our fellow man. You could, it's okay. I let you talk. You want to, it's okay. I'm the guy that feels compassion for our fellow man. There are 7,300 apartments in this community, okay? 7,300 apartments. That means there's over 13,000 people who live here. You are a minority because the people who don't want to fight this are home, okay? So, okay, let me tell you something. What are you worrying about? Okay, he said a great plan for you. You have two people who come into this property out of 365 days a year and you worry about it. I'm in favor of this project. I think it's a great project. I see people, listen. Let me ask you a question. I want you to understand something. I want you to imagine that you are 55, 65 years old, you lost your job, okay, and you can't afford your rents. Across the street, people were worried about an apartment that they said it was going to be low rent. The apartments across the street are $1,800, $1,900, and $2,000. 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and 3 bedroom, okay? So a lot of people can't afford that. People just like you, Jews, Gentiles, Muslims, just average people. You're being selfish for yourself. You're safe. You are safe. That's okay. I'm not sitting down. I'm in favor of this. This is a good project, and it's going to help humanity. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Can I speak now?
All right, guys, let's pipe. All right,
Hello?
come on. All right, guys, enough now. We're going to be civil. I haven't forgotten you, sir. This man's been waiting. He's going to go next, all right?
Okay, all right. Doctor, thank you for your presentation. And I agree with a lot of the stuff that has been said here. But in your presentation, being a financial person, I'm a retired certified public accountant. You mentioned that it's going to cost around $20,000, and you're trying to collect at least 30%. That's about $6,000, give and take. $600, $500, $600 a month. You also mentioned in your presentation that some of these individuals don't have the paperwork to get Social Security, to get financial aid, whatever the case might be. Which means that if you're saying some of these people, I would probably say the majority of them are, if you want to be honest with all of us. If they haven't had the paper to be able to get the proper financial aid, they haven't had the paper to work all their lives, either because of mental or physical handicaps, which is understandable. And everybody needs the right to live, like the gentleman before us spoke, but doesn't have to be right next to us here. Getting those $6,000, that's a mirage. You'll never get any of that stuff from this type of people. It's unfortunate, but that's how they live all their lives. You're preaching to the choir. We're all seniors here. I myself am a first-generation immigrant, okay? So I know what it is to work hard and educate yourself, like everybody has been here. Either we have 2 jobs, I went to school, college, and I work a full-time job. So I know what it is to make it in the America. This is the greatest country in the world. If you are in a situation where that gentleman mentioned that you cannot afford a rent or whatever, get 2 jobs, get work when you're young. Don't wait to be 55 to see what's going to happen, okay? I'm self-sufficient. I put my kids through school, Ivy League school. I went to City University of New York, okay? But I worked hard for it. I didn't get a single penny for any of the things that my son and my family have done. So the way, if I did it, and I'm first-generation immigrant here, anybody can do it.
All right, next speaker is right here. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, thank you. My name is Joel Gold, and I'd like to say first that I've heard many, many presentations over my business career. And the presentations are particularly, almost all of them, have a lot of fluff, and then some of them have some meat. Yours has a lot of fluff, 0 meat. 0 meat. You don't give us anything specific. You don't answer questions specifically. You give us generalities. And I like to ask a couple of specific questions. The most important thing, at least I think, or one of the most important for us, is security. We have our own security issues in the village. They're serious issues, and we've had meaningful crime in the village. We have our own problems. When you say you're going to have security, I would like to see, when you're running at a $10 a day deficit, how much money you're allocating for security. What does that specifically mean? How many officers are you going to have? And when you say, frankly, it's a bit embarrassing to us, that you're going to prevent or kick people out who do criminal activities in the hotel. How about criminal activities outside in our village? That's much more important to us. And I'll tell you, and the other thing is, I'd like to know how you're going to vet people who come in here who have criminal records, who have addiction, and I don't think you've supplied us any information with regard to protecting us security-wise, and it's about time we got some meat and not continue to have your beautiful fluff.
All right.
And how about an answer?
Go for it, Dr. Green.
So operationally, the security that we will have inside, we will have rooms designated for security. And we can talk about the cost. I'll have Isami talk about the cost if you want, but we do have that kind of mapped out as well. In terms of screening, we currently have programs that allow us to screen individuals. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that every screening tool that we use is 100% proof. That's just not the case. But we do have programs that allow us to screen people's income. We have processes that allow us to screen their age. We work with law enforcement, and we do background checks to allow us to look at their backgrounds. And we do have psychosocials and other types of tools that we can use to look at their mental health. And so all of those things are things that we're implementing in some of our programs already. It wouldn't be something that we would have to come up with. Those things we do have in place, and to the extent that we can, we will absolutely do everything that we can to make sure that our residents, not just Century Village, but all of our residents are as safe as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. I want just one second,
can
sir.
I say one?
1 second. I just would like to respond because this is.
Mr. Gold, we're gonna do one shot at a time.
No, just
all
let
right?
me respond.
No, Mr. Gold.
I want to respond.
Turn off his mic.
That's the
turn
problem
off,
with
turn
this.
off his mic, Laurent.
Oh boy.
I'm sorry.
We have a lot of guys want to talk. We
Hello.
understand. All right, Dr. Green, I have Mr. Contino here. He's been waiting for some time.
My name is Arvind Telly. I agree with the gentleman.
Yo, you're not Mr. Contino.
Please wait. Huh?
I'm Mr. Contino. Then you know.
Please stand down, sir. You will get your turn, I promise you.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. I wanted to speak today because I have a somewhat unique background. I was a New York State parole officer for 38 years. I supervised cases, and I spent 18 years with our fugitive unit. Every parole officer has contacts, works with programs and shelters. And I can tell you, every program and shelter does every effort they can to fill their beds, even if they have to stretch their guidelines as far as accepting. My biggest concern, and by the way, I retired as chief of our Special Offender Bureau. We supervise seriously, persistently mentally ill. We supervise sex offenders, and we supervise programs. I look here and I look at our population. I see the ratio of men to women, and I see victims. Okay? I look out my window, and I'm on the second floor, so I'm pretty good. I look out my window, and I could see people walking through the properties behind our places. I have a very great concern for everybody's here. I liked when you were asked about security, and you talked about the security at the facility. That will stop at the parking lot. They will cut holes in our fences. They won't even climb over. They will walk through and be on our property. It may not be the residents. It may be their grandchildren and sons who come to visit, and when it gets dark, they'll leave. You have to understand, these people here are a target. They will be a target. There's nothing you could do to prevent that. Thank you.
All right, I have Mr. Telly here. He's been waiting for some time. You're next, sir.
Hello, Mr. Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner. My name is Arvind Telly. I wanted to agree with the gentleman who said that we should provide housing for the poor, provided that we follow a business plan. The business plan that you're following now, taking over a motel and putting people there, is completely wrong. I'm looking at the facilities that you're going to provide to the residents there are so good that I want to sell my unit and move there because the facilities are so good. It only can be compared to a nursing home. Okay? build nursing homes. You have lots of land here, okay? To put a business, a motel, out of business today. We have more visitors coming because the city is growing. There's the attraction of Florida. Then you take the business away. Business that produces taxes. Now you put people, that are not generating extra income, but over the years you will need the motel. But over the years you should start building the homes, because that's what is necessary. They should be distributed not to Century 21, but all the other areas where rich commissioners and deputy commissioners live in their neighborhood also. And we want to see that. To see that they are sincere in providing housing for the poor and the unfortunate. Okay? We want you to do that. And now, one thing more is, you're very short on promises. You see, behind Century Village, there's a highway going. And we hear so much highway noise. We were promised.
All right, Mr. Telly, Mr. Telly, I'm gonna stop you there because you're branching.
But they haven't provided
No,
it.
not yet.
Short on promises.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Krantz has the mic.
My name is Aryeh Kranz. I've been in the village for about 10 years. I was appointed as a housing commissioner for the Housing Authority by the governor of New Jersey for about 5 years in Lakewood, New Jersey. So I'm very, very familiar with the senior buildings that the Housing Authority that we had in New Jersey. We had numerous buildings, multi-story. The residents that you screen and you vet and you bring in and security, that's all wonderful. The reason why our buildings in New Jersey were drug bazaars and drug dens was because of the visitors, the children, the grandchildren, the addicts, and the friends. And there's no way you can stop those people from coming in to visit grandma or grandpa. And what's going to happen is, and this is what we had to deal with in all of our buildings in New Jersey. They were drug bazaars. And the petty crime, they just want money for their drugs. And they're breaking into the cars, and it's petty theft, and they're going to hop the fence and drill through the fence, and they're going to inundate this village. And these are people that as much security as you can have. The grandma in her apartment is going to buzz the buzzer and let her grandchild in. And not all of them are addicts, but many of them are addicts, and there's trouble. And it's all going to spill over into this village. And we had terrible, terrible trouble in all of our senior housing in the Housing Authority in New Jersey.
Thank you, Ari. Izami has a couple of points she wants to make.
So I just want to make sure that we give you an answer to the questions that were asked before. At the beginning of the presentation, there was a question as to the square footage per room. The average is about 370 square feet. Okay, so that's answer number one. 370. Answer number two is, you talked about security and asked about security. Security services in the county falls under one of the departments that I supervise, the department I lead. And I think it's important to keep in mind that if this were to move forward, this facility becomes a county facility. And that means that the security services being provided are exactly the same services being provided in other critical locations like a county courthouse, the main government center. I'm giving you that just for context to then say, I'm just giving you information, giving you that for context to then say, the plan that was shared by my colleague envisions 24/7 security going on. So information as you had requested.
Okay, Gene Berman, you're up.
Thank you very much. Jean Berman, Northampton, and I did have some questions. I went online and I looked up information on this particular La Quinta location. And among other things, it says that, the rooms are equipped with TV and internet service, they have an outdoor pool, they have, continental breakfast in the morning. I mean, how much of this stuff is the county actually going to get? Are you buying this as a stripped-down location with no furniture or anything like that? Are you going to be paying for, having TV reception, internet, that kind of stuff for people? How about the business center that they have in the building? And of course, I'm also concerned about the security. And the other thing is I don't think that the county should be buying an existing business and taking it off the tax rolls. And plus that, what about the people that work in the hotel? Now you're creating unemployment. I mean, this is not a good model. You should find some place which has more access to services than being on Okeechobee. I mean, how are these folks going to get around? If you're going to provide buses for them to go get groceries, are they going to have a microwave? Are they going to have a refrigerator in their kitchenette? What's the plan here? Because it seems to me if you're just telling them, okay, here, you have a room, you can lock the door, you've got a bathtub that maybe you can't climb into, what kind of a place is that going to be? How much is this all going to come through? And when is it all going to happen? Because obviously having to redo a whole motel building is going to take some time and some money. So, we need a little bit more information than just, pie in the sky by and by. Thank you.
Isami, do you have a response?
I do. And
Go
there
for it.
were several questions, so I'm going to do my best to take them in order.
Thank you.
Before I answer the questions, just for context, it has been mentioned twice that we shouldn't be taking a business out of the tax roll, right? And I just want to make sure we all are on the same page. This is an opportunity that arises because the owner put the business on the market. The county did not go there asking for it to be sold. We identified the opportunity and the possibility of putting it to service in a different way, right? So at the end, the owner has the ability to decide if they want to continue operating or they want to do something different with their property. But with that said, to the question as to are we acquiring, if the board decides to acquire, right? Will the acquisition include everything that is in the hotel? The answer is yes. Okay, so the rooms, we have conducted an inspection with county staff, and I had mentioned the prior time I was here that I oversee county facilities, right? So the same way we treat any other county facility, we went in with our staff, with engineers, with architects, did a full review of the facility just to make sure as to the condition it is in and to perform an inventory. So if the sale were to proceed, it includes everything that is in place right now. Second question was, have you planned, and paraphrasing, have you planned to provide TV services and the other amenities? If the acquisition were to proceed, the services that are currently in place transfer to the county. So the same way that in county facilities we have internet, we provide what we call CCTV, we provide audio and video services, those will then get transferred to the county's IT department, and those services will be in place as well. Do you ask a question as to, third question, as to the level of work that needs to be done in the facility? Our assessment shows that the facility is in very good condition, right? Every building, your home and mine, requires typical maintenance throughout the years, and we do expect that we will need to do that the same way it happens in any county facility. But the current condition is a good condition, which means that depending on direction received and how the process moves forward, we could occupy the units. Fourth question, if I counted correctly, was, will the units provide for a kitchenette and other accommodations? And my colleague mentioned during the presentation that there are some considerations to grant an additional funding to be able to make some improvements to select rooms within the facility to be able to provide them with those additional accommodations. So Hopefully, ma'am, I addressed all your questions. I was keeping track, but if I failed, you can let me know, okay?
Izami, before I resume my laps around the theater, could you just update us on the status of negotiations on purchasing the property? Has a sale price been agreed upon? Have you gone into contract? Where we at?
We have not gone into contract because we cannot do that. We cannot, when I say we, county staff, right? County staff, we cannot enter into a contract unless we have authorization by the board. So answer number one. Answer number two, yes, we have reached an agreement on the purchase price.
Which is?
$15 million. And then there is a franchise release fee that comes with that of 1.7.
So is the franchise buyout fee included in the 15 million, or is that additional?
It's 16.7 total.
So the real number is 16.7 million.
Exactly.
Plus closing costs.
And yes, the owner is willing to sell.
Okay. All right. Mr. Shavitz is next.
Hi, I'm not going to address the merits of the project. I just have some questions about the funding and the reality of today's political environment. You're already showing a deficit funding before you even opened it. So I'm curious as to what programs will be cut back to meet that deficit. And when you don't get some of the grants that you've applied for, which is very likely, considering what we've seen in the last 4 days, what's the county going to have to come up with to keep the project moving in a somewhat safe manner?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, we have received some funding from the state. We have also received notification of an award from the federal government. And so those two sources of funding we've received notification for that we could potentially apply to this project if the board approves it. In addition to that, I mentioned charging 30% of the tenant's income, potentially up to 50% as a source of revenue. And so that would be a potential source of funding. I also mentioned that there would potentially be a partnership with the housing authority. And just to give you context, in speaking with one of the housing authority, they're funding at least 25 residents here in Century Village, the projects here in Century Village. So it could be a potential source, a project-based voucher, or for veterans. Veterans receive funding from the federal government to have supportive housing vouchers. That is a potential source of funding if we're able to incorporate veterans into this equation. And then finally, what I'll say is there could be, remember, we're looking to prevent individuals from becoming homeless. And so they're potentially living in a place that they just can't afford now. So we do anticipate having already a wait list of people who would be willing to come here because they have nowhere else to go. And in speaking to our housing authority partners, what they have done is they just simply increase the amount of rent that they've had to pay. Even if they're charged $700, $800, $1,000 for rent, it's still way better than anything that they can find here on the market. And so they've been able to do that in some of their facilities, and it helped offset some of the costs for funding not being available through some of the means that I just described.
Thank you, but I'm still not hearing an answer as to guaranteed funds. I'm hearing we've applied, we expect. You know, a lot of people expect things, but I got a feeling there won't be a whole lot of veterans dollars coming down in the next few months, and there probably won't be a whole lot of new social service grants being given out of Washington, unless, of course, you've got $1 billion or $2 billion in your pocket already. So what are you going to do to actually get the dollars to meet this?
So what I'm describing is that the dollars have been awarded already. So these dollars have been awarded, but they haven't been applied.
And they've been freezing programs all week long and not sending the money. So again, you can get the grant, but you may never see the dollars. Where will money come when these things don't follow through?
Okay.
All right, I have Mr. Burstein. He's been waiting for some time. Go ahead,
First
sir.
of all, I want to thank all the county commissioners for being here today, and I want to thank the Century Village staff for inviting us all here for the meeting. I worked for the United States Postal Service for over 30 years for the federal government, and I have seen a lot of things that went on, and I am concerned about the security, but I am also concerned as a person who has bought into Century Village that the property value will go down when you build that housing at the place, and want to know what will happen for us.
Thank you, Mr. Burstein. Would you like to respond, Dr. Green?
Yeah, so I'm not sure if I want to respond about property values. That's not really my expertise, so.
Same. All right, Mrs. Call, you're up.
Okay, I've lived in Century Village for about 8 years, and I have seen there's already people from Section 8 and veterans already living here. And some of the people from Section 8, now I know Palm Beach County is trying to get the homeless off the street, and some of them are drug people that are living here under Section 8. I have seen it, I've experienced it, people stealing packages from Amazon, from other places, and then they have their friends come in, and you can tell they're druggies, and then you have people coming, knocking on the door 24/7, and they're selling drugs out of Century Village. So it's already here. So why increase the problem?
So here's what I'll say to that. First of all, I want to be clear that we are not proposing that this be a homeless shelter. That these are people who are living in housing now and cannot afford it, and giving them an option of a place to go. But beyond that, what I also want to do is make sure that I at least give you a perspective of what I see. We deal with people who are considered unhoused, and as a matter of fact, we go out, we count them every single year. And it's important for you to know that there are a lot of myths out there about people who are unhoused. One being that they all have mental health issues or addiction issues. 65 to 70% of the people that we counted on the streets last year were homeless for the first time. They simply could not afford their rent. They couldn't afford it. Rent was too expensive. The cost of living was too expensive. It wasn't mental health. There are a lot of people who are living in housing now who have mental health issues. There are a lot of people who are living in an apartment, in a house, in a building right now with addiction issues. The problem is that they could not afford their rent. And that was the majority of the people that we counted. What we're trying to do is not necessarily to house those individuals, but to keep more individuals from entering into homelessness, specifically our seniors and our veterans. And so I just want to make sure that we're clear about what actually is, which is based on research and through our experiences anecdotally. I want to clear up the misnomer about everyone who's on the streets being, mental health or addiction, individuals with mental health or addiction issues, because it's simply not true. And oftentimes the news and other channels, they give you that type of picture, but it's just not true. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Hughes, you're up.
Yeah, I just have two quick questions. I came down here to hear a presentation about how this was going to be mutually beneficial for everybody, and all I am hearing is that it's beneficial on your side. And my second question is, are you guys elected officials?
Okay.
Because we will see you in November.
So to answer your question, no, we are not elected officials. We are a staff. We're county staff. That's the first question. I have no intention of running for office, by the way. That is not in my plans. But to answer your question in terms of mutually beneficial, I can guarantee you that there are people who are currently living in Century Village who are struggling with their bills. I can tell you that. And in in terms of what they will do if ever their bills get out of control and they have nowhere else to go, what I'm saying to you is that we recognize that there's a bigger problem, not just Century Village. Again, I just want to reiterate that almost a third of the county's population is comprised of seniors. And so what we're trying to do is to come up with, this is not going to be the panacea, this is not going to be a resolution that could potentially resolve all of these issues, but it's at least one more tool in the toolbox that may be available, because we do get calls from residents of Century Village and other facilities across the county for seniors who cannot afford their rent and they're going through the eviction process. And so we just want to be able to respond and say there may be an option for you, rather than to say, I'm sorry, there's nothing that we can do.
All right, Ms. Gardetza, you're up.
I didn't get a chance to respond to that.
No, we're not going to do responding, all right? This isn't Jerry Springer. Ms. Gardetza, you're up.
Okay, so I have a couple of issues.
And if the dog's got something to say.
First of all, for everybody who's concerned on that it will house people with mental health issues, 68% of the population of the United States of America suffers from mental health issues. So that would mean how many people here? So let's take that part off of the table. My bigger concern is funding. You had said something about HUD funding, a HUD grant, and something from the state. We just had a changeover in government. What is that going to do with the money that you have not been able to yet apply? Can any of that be pulled? Because other monies have been pulled already.
So I cannot predict what's going to happen in the future. I don't think anyone can. But what I can say is that currently that the state of Florida has awarded some dollars to the county to address some of these housing issues. I can also say that the federal government has awarded some funding to this county to help address some housing issues. And I can also say that if people move into this facility, part of what we're going to be looking at is the income that they are bringing in and how they can offset some of the cost, and that the partnership with housing authorities, with the vouchers that would provide funding, that would be a key strategic move in order to close the gap that we shared with you earlier. I cannot predict what is going to happen in the federal government or in the state government, or for that matter, in local county government. All I can do is try to plan with all of the information that I have and do everything within my power and within the power of our staff to come up with a way to address this housing issue, affordable housing issue with our seniors, because we have to figure out ways to address this issue, because I'm hearing it, seeing it, experiencing it every day along with all of my staff, and I know some of you may be experiencing it as well. And so we're just trying to come up with some innovative solutions.
All right, so on the question of predicting federal funding, obviously there's some change going on in the United States. We happen to have a representative of the federal government right here amongst us. I told you I was putting you on the spot.
Okay.
What do you how do you think that's going to go? Hard question.
Well, I can't speak to, hi, I'm Derek with Congressman Matt's office. I can't speak to the question of what's going to happen in the future with this new administration, to include the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development has not even been approved yet. So factually, I have no idea what's going to happen. With reference to Dr. Green and Palm Beach County's presentation, yes, the United States government, Housing and Urban Development, has authorized and is working with counties throughout the state of Florida and Kissimmee and Miami with reference to conversions from hotel to affordable housing, because, as we all know, many of us have been priced out of paradise. What is the answer? What is the solution? I don't know. I don't know because, again, number one, the housing secretary hasn't been approved. He has his own ideas, and the current president has his own ideas. But I can tell you, having worked for the current president, he is a business owner, and they are looking at privatizing a number of different entities to include veterans benefits, as was on the news last night, and to include housing benefits. I don't have an answer. I can only give you the facts. Those are the facts that I know, and as I know more, I'll be glad to share it with you.
Thank you, Derek. Good job. Thank you. Mr. Fagertag, you're up.
I've got a few questions and a few points. First of all, with respect to the last comment, the media has reported that current administration is looking to get rid of HUD so that, you know, a lot of things that might hinge on getting funding from them have to be sort of held in abeyance. So if you're counting on that, you know, that's obviously a gray area. I've heard from the people here, except for one person, they're unanimous that this is the wrong project at the wrong place. It might be the right project, but it could be at the wrong place. And being in the wrong place is pretty obvious why it's not the right place. We've heard from somebody, you're talking about research, talking about your plan, which is pretty airy-fairy, as the individual here indicated. There's a lot of fluff in it, a lot of ideas that sound good, and I appreciate, you know, your concern. And people here are not incompassionate. They recognize that there's problems there. But this community here has been bombarded on all sides now, or surrounded by projects that are impinging on the quality of life that people here came here to enjoy. With the golf course, that was a terrible decision that was made. They were still hurting from that, where a property that was deemed to be in perpetuity to be a golf course was somehow determined that that didn't apply. Now approving the 700 units and some of the problems that are going to happen there with people coming onto our property. It's already happening. You need to listen practically and not just, you know, theoretical research or you know, ideas. The facility here has experienced all kinds of security problems, from people coming over fences, cutting through fences. A lot of it's from visitors, which you're going to have there at the facility. So even if the people are screened, which I don't see that there's a lot of information on how that's going to be done to vet people, will they be registered sex offenders in the area here? There are people coming into the village. You've heard specific examples of that going on, and the administration here can fill you in on that. The concept here is that you keep coming up with basically the same thing with few little bells and whistles here to make it look different, but essentially it's the same project. And so if you keep repeating the same thing and expect a different answer, you know what that means, right? It's not appropriate. I could go on in detail.
Yes,
I've
you
worked,
could.
we heard from the commissioner, I guess, of housing in New Jersey, how much more of a person in authority that has experienced these things do you need to rely on, as opposed to, you know, some concepts, and so on. And I just think it's obvious for the vulnerability of the people that are here, with a drug rehab place already coming in, apparently, and there's just too much, and it's not going to work. The funding aspect, I understand that we're led to believe that the building was $9 million in debt, and that it was put up for auction and nobody would even buy it. And the figures you gave us of approximately $17 million and additional renovation costs, you're thinking of renovating things, will add to that. That's more than Mar-a-Lago was valued at the trial. Right? It's ridiculous. You're taking on a huge financial burden that the taxpayers are going to have to carry with this. And you heard from Fabro, the president of the association, that there's other options that are available in land that are more appropriate, and you're just snowballing all these negative things that already are happening. You heard about the HUD issues. There are people here, I've seen it myself. I've been in the business dealing with these situations. I won't get into detail, but the end results are, similar to what the person with the parole had indicated.
All right,
in
Marvin.
many cases.
Marvin.
Yes.
We love you, but let's give somebody else a chance, all right?
All right. So for the...
Mrs. Bernard, you're up.
Yeah. So for the commissioners, listen to your constituents.
Earlier, you said that the project won't go forward without the board's approval. And someone else asked the question, is it going to be voted on? Is it possible or probable that this is going to happen no matter what we say?
Oh, I see. Okay. So all we're doing is presenting a concept. We'll present it to the Board of County Commissioners, and then they'll make the decision. So we don't know what the Board of County Commissioners will do. What we're trying to do is to present a strategy to address some of the challenges that I mentioned in the presentation. They're the ones that are authorized to make the final decision.
Let me...
In spite of our opposition to it, we have no say, really. Is that what you're saying?
No, this transaction will take place in a public forum, as all of them do, and so there will be nothing to prevent residents from coming out and speaking on behalf of what they feel about the project.
Let me, if I may.
Unit owners, just to be clear, this proposal will need to be voted upon by the Board of County Commissioners at a noticed county commissioner meeting when it's ready to be voted upon. UCO will be providing bus service to that meeting. So this is not in any means a done deal. That would be unfair. This is staff. They're the equivalent of me at UCO. We work up the proposals, but the executives make the decisions. Okay?
Let me add something, if I may, to that answer. And just to recap something that we said in, I believe, our first meeting. When this opportunity came up, we were given direction, number one, to explore the possibility of acquiring the property, but most importantly, to make sure that a strategic approach could be put in place to operate the facility, and number two, that we took the time and effort and engaged with the community. That's why you see us here. So going back to the question you asked, ma'am, asking, has this been approved? The answer is no. Do we have an obligation to go back to the board with a full disclosure and comprehensive discussion of the steps that have been taken and the input received? Yes. And back to the comment that Donald made, it is at that time when it will get fully discussed with all components as well, the same you have seen today, and a decision will be then made.
So they could still decide to go ahead with it even with a lot of opposition.
But that
right?
remains
Like
to
they
be,
have
Mrs.
the
Bernard, that
power?
remains to be seen. I'm sure that all the commissioners are going to be watching this meeting. So that's for another time, all right? Mrs. Bagnani, you're up.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Colleen. I've been a resident for 2 years, but I've been coming for 20, and I worked hard. Sorry. I've been coming here for 20 years, and I worked hard to afford my unit. Now, you're saying this is roughly $17 million, and you're approximately 140 units?
114.
Oh, 114. Oh, okay. Hold on one second. So let me redo my calculations because I did 140. So you're looking at, I'm sorry. Right, I understand that. So that's roughly $150,000 a unit. So these people are having a hard time staying in their units where they are now, so why don't we just give them and help them at the units they're in instead of bringing them here? Does that make sense? That's just the numbers right that says right here. Thank you.
All right, Michelina, you're up.
Thank you. I just want to say a few words. Instead of doing this, sell the hotel to a better hotel like Hyatt or to a Hilton and make a beautiful hotel here so that the residents of Century Village, the values will go up for us and the hotel will be a beautiful hotel to stay at instead of what you're doing.
James, if I may, for clarity, the hotel is not county-owned, so we cannot sell it to someone else. The owner of the hotel is the one that decides how he or she will operate that facility. They put it, well, the county wouldn't acquire just to resell. We're not in the business of flipping properties, right? The county is in the business of providing services. So the owner of that property can certainly decide to sell, to operate it as it is, to operate it for someone else to redevelop it for something different.
Okay, Mr. Borzos, you're up.
Commissioner Weiss and county staff, thank you for your attendance today. And members of the audience, I'd like to remind you that the lady has spoken probabilities. The gentleman has spoken in present tense. When we're doing this, when it will happen. He is much invested in his role to have this type of facility. Commissioner Weiss will not be rerunning for county commission, so you can't vote him out. He's already decided to run for City of West Palm Beaches, I believe. We wish him well in that. We've heard everybody speak about the negative impacts it will have on the village. From my perspective as an economist and retired planning commissioner, I want to speak to this for consideration of Commissioner Weiss, most importantly, what this will do to the gateway of Palm Beach County and the city of West Palm Beach, where he hopes to reside. Right now, it's a very sketchy intersection. In my opinion, this project will make it even more so. And Commissioner, would you, I don't think so, want to be remembered as the one that ruined the gateway to Palm Beach County? If we don't have this project, it won't disincentivize private investment to bring up that intersection more so than it is already. And that concludes my comments and point of consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Borzos. Mr. Feo, you're up.
Yeah, I have a question. If this does go through, what assurances do we have that in a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's not changed to a regular homeless shelter, or you start allowing younger people in? Is that something that would have to go through the county commissioners, or does somebody else just say, okay, we're going to change it to this, and they do it?
So on the facilities side, if I may, once it becomes a county facility, it's a county facility. So it needs to abide by the county level of service. On the operational side, it will need to go back to the board for a change. James?
So if you want to change it from seniors only or seniors and veterans only, you have to go through the county commissioners?
Yes, so if we wanted to, it sounds like what you were asking is whether or not it can move from being a permanent housing facility to something more like a shelter or transitional.
Yes.
And absolutely, that would be something that the board would need to approve. Correct.
Okay, Ms. Simpson, you're up.
Oh. Doctor, good afternoon. Thank you for your presentation. It was very well done. Well, I know that you probably have to do what you have to do. And I know people who's homeless is sometimes no fault of your own. But if what is going to take place, and it probably will take place, because I seen one take place in Orlando, and I seen one from where I came from in Connecticut. But once the county takes it over, I just hope and pray that you start off good and you just don't let it fall by the wayside. Because we are here. And probably when this does happen, most of us probably be expired and gone. But for the next generation that come along, we are here. We are here, and we are concerned about our living. And most of us is on our own. Our kids are gone or they live in another state. So we're hoping and praying whatever happens, it's going to be a safe heaven for us because we need that now. And please, when you go back to your board and when you look out for it, remember we are here and we are deeply concerned about our livelihood. And I know people that is homeless, a lot of it is no fault of their own. But in my generation, I end up one of the lucky one. I have a pension, I have a Social Security, I have all that, but everybody don't have that. And I know they need help. But please, remember that we are here and we are scared for our safety. Whatever happened.
All right, Mrs. Deutsch, you're up.
Hi. Yes, I don't know how many people here have spoken that are second homeowners, but I'm a second homeowner. I was president of the association for about 5 years here and have seen every problem under the sun, dealing with the VA, the police, criminals, drugs, scams, everything, getting people out of the place, and very, very difficult to do. And frankly, I am totally against this, and I didn't buy into here to have a homeless shelter next door. And you can call it whatever you want. And also, this hotel chain is in bad financial across the country, and they are selling out in Miami, all over the place to ideas just like yours. And it's not like your idea is bad. It's a great idea. It really is. And it's a way to get the homeless off the street, maybe into better situations, give them job opportunities, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But it's not to be here next to a very vulnerable population that can be easily scammed, friended. I've had women call me at late at night, 90-year-old woman. He's knocking at my door. He wants money. What do I do? Should I give him my credit card? And I'm like, unbelievable. I have to instruct people how to take care of their own money and make sure that they just don't give their credit card over, and they do. This is life, and this is, it was like teaching my mother, hang up the phone, Mom, just don't do it, But I do not want it here, and frankly, and I'll be very frank, if this happens, I will look to sell my place because it's not what I want when I come down here. I want peace and quiet. I want to read my books, go for a swim, walk through the neighborhood at night with my doggie, as everybody knows, and leave here in peace. Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you for your comments.
Go ahead, Mrs. Mosley.
Yes, I'm waiting patiently, and thank you. Most of the people had left the room already. But what I'm getting ready to say is that I used to work at a senior center up north. I used to work at the senior center up north, and Northgate up there, and I served the people through AARP. Well, then all of a sudden they opened up another senior center over here off of Okeechobee for the Jews, for them to have their lunch and stuff. I really enjoy working with those people, and I have experience in that. So, like you all want to play bingo, you all want to play different activities, checkers, whatever. Any kind of activities that you like to do to get you out of the house. That is what my goal is, to offer my services and to pay me to help the seniors. I'm not as young as I used to be, but my mother, she's in the senior center. She's been there almost 3 years. So I think that with my experience, and I need a job because everything is so high. Eggs is high. Everything's going up. You can't hardly buy gas in the car. You know, I'm living by myself. I don't have extra money to spend, you know, but if somebody really want to hire me and get I have a good resume. And I used to work at JFK. I have a good reputation. So, and for this community, I'm willing to help. I'm willing to do something for your seniors in here.
Thank you, Mrs. Mosley. Mr. Swinburne, you have the mic.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
I'd like to ask, what is your overall rent, your proposed rent going to be for one of these units at La Quinta? Because they're pretty much the same, aren't they? And bear in mind, whatever they have, you want 50%. Okay, so what is their overall rent? What are you asking for up front? What is your proposed rent going to be once this proposed venture gets started?
And so what's important to note is there will be some seniors who have more than just Social Security. You have some seniors who are still in the workplace, and so what we're proposing is that 30% of their income goes towards the rent, and then up to another 20%, and that may be optional, can go towards the other support services that may be provided. I think what you're asking is, what would the number be in terms of
what is the base rent going to be, sir? The base rent. You people will expect something. What is the base rent? Because there's going to be arguments among the people there if one is paying more than another and their unit is the same.
So I want to make sure that you're familiar with the fact that that currently exists now, where rents are higher in some facilities than they are in others. It's called mixed income facilities. And so that model currently exists, and it is successful. What we're hoping is that, you know, if we need to have base rent to make up for the cost of those who don't have a lot of income, it may be around $700, $800, $900 or so, something that is still relatively affordable for our seniors. And so you may have some who have income, they can't afford to live where they are, but 30% of their income could be potentially...
So you're looking at $800, $900 a month. That's a lot for people that are homeless, that really don't have any Social Security. Are you kidding me?
And again, there would be other subsidies to hopefully make up for some of the shortfalls.
Okay, Mrs. Richardson, you're up.
Mr.
Brown. And by the way, this will be our final commenter because it looks like we pretty much ran out of steam. I'm going to let county staff have an opportunity to do a final presentation, all right?
Yes. Mr. Brown, you said there's examples of these places that they bought hotels, and we have one in Buffalo, and it is not good. They got armed guards watching the people there, protecting them. Criminals, crime, because they are low income and they're not working, and this is no place. They put it it's a hotel by the airport away from the community. This is not a place. That's a great program to help people, but this is not a place to put it. I have extensive experience in housing, law, community, crime, and I'm telling you, this would be a big mistake to these people. It's an injustice. Great program, but not this close to all these people. Please, consider taking this someplace else. It's not good, and it'll cause nothing but problems. No matter which way, I don't care how much security, how much money you're giving them. It just is a bad idea to put this in this neighborhood. And the commissioner that was from New Jersey, he knows. He worked with housing. The crime goes up. It's like the kids, the grandmothers, the relatives. It doesn't matter. Please don't put it here. It's too close for these people to get victimized, and we will be victimized.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. And we're gonna stop comments from now, and we're just gonna give county staff a final opportunity to present. And by the way, thank you all for coming. This is a big deal. Oh, it's Neil's again.
All right. Before you all go, first off, I want to thank you all for coming out this afternoon. I want to thank county staff for their presentation. I want to also let you know, that was brought up regarding the drug rehab proposal. That is not something the county is proposing. That is a private proposal. It will, if it proceeds, if they want to put their application in, there will be public hearings on that, and you will be notified of it. I will make sure that you are made aware of that. But I want to be clear, that's not something staff has proposed, but our staff does have to review when somebody puts in an application. We are required to review it. So it has been put in. The second thing, lastly, just to say, there's been no decision made on this. This was, we made a commitment, I made a commitment to you that before anything would happen, we would come first to you. And that's what we did today. This was, they were able to put together what I consider, and I know some of you felt the proposal was not as deep as you wanted it, but it was there was much more depth to it than the first we had heard about it. And this was an opportunity to bring this to you, for you to learn more about what staff was proposing. So again, thank you all for being here. Stay warm, and we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, it's at the UCO front desk.